Wow.
Already? So smooth.
If you're a high achiever and you want to be a high achiever, that fear can be a strong limiting factor for your creativity. If your dominant feeling is that you don't want to fail, you will never do something really good, right?
Yes.
ชีวิตในฝันประเทศรัฐสวัสดิการที่ดีที่สุดของโลกอากาศสะอาดเมืองสงบและชีวิตท่ามกลางธรรมชาติ The Secret Sauce All Location Swedish Dream สำรวจประเทศผู้นำด้านความยั่งยืน
ตรงนี้ว้าว1 โครน
ศูนย์กลางนวัตกรรมของยุโรปที่ผู้คนมีคุณภาพชีวิตที่ดีที่สุดแห่งหนึ่งของโลก
จะเห็นเลยว่าน้ำมันหายไปเป็นไงพี่รู้สึกไงฟินพี่มาครบเลยนะ ได้ทั้งเรือทั้งเครื่องบินมันมากโอ้ Hold on จับไว้โอเค Can I sit here a little more Really good.
Thank you so much.
Thank you. Lovely to have you.
Next time I will train.
The P12 ferry, and it is 12 because it's 12 meters long, 4.5 meters wide, and it is our commuter ferry. And this particular one is called Zero, a nice grey color, and this is the one we're going to test ride today as well.
Can't wait.
You see the red struts coming down into the water in the back, and then you have the propulsion system sitting submerged in the water for cooling. I don't think you can see it.
The red
but
one?
Yes, that's the strut going down.
What is that again?
That's the hydrofoil strut.
Hydrofoil,
Yes, that's part of that's the aft foil system, we call that. There's 2 of them and 2 propulsion systems, one for each canoe. So it's a catamaran.
Okay.
Right? And then you have the front foil system where you see it looks like a black window.
Yes.
So it also retracts, right? It goes up into the hull again.
Okay.
So the whole hydrofoil system can extract and retract.
Okay,
Meaning
got
also when we have retracted the foils, the depth we need, the draft is very low, so we can almost dock anywhere.
Really?
Which is also very good for tourism places and whatnot.
อันดับแรกดูตัวเรือก่อนเนี่ยอย่างเงี้ยดูเรือเขาดิครับโคตรเท่อันนี้ก็เหมือนเรือสปีดโบ๊ททั่วไปเนาะฝั่งนี้ก็เป็นเรือเฟอร์รี่แต่ว่าเทคโนโลยีที่เขาใช้เนี่ยคิดค้นแทบจะเองทั้งหมดเลยคือเอารีเสิร์ชเก่าๆมาแล้วก็มาทำใหม่นะเป็นเรือที่เป็น1ใช้ไฟฟ้าทั้งหมดเมื่อกี้ก็ชาร์จไฟให้ดูชาร์จประมาณชั่วโมงครึ่งก็เต็ม2ก็คือเป็นไฮโดรฟอยล์คือไอ้แดงๆเห็นแดงๆไหมใช้หลักเหมือนเครื่องบินยกเรือขึ้นมาเพราะฉะนั้นเวลาเราอยู่บนเรือเนี่ยความรู้สึกจะคล้ายๆกับขึ้นเครื่องบินคือมีช่วงที่ take off แล้วก็มีช่วงที่เขา landing ขึ้นมาด้วยข้อดีของการยกขึ้นมาคืออะไรพอยกขึ้นมาปุ๊บเนี่ยทำให้ไม่ต้องเจอน้ำพอไม่เจอน้ำไม่ต้องโต้คลื่นกับน้ำเนี่ยก็ใช้พลังงานน้อยลงประหยัดพลังงานเขาบอก 80-90% นะครับแต่ว่าเทคโนโลยีที่เขามีนอกจากยกขึ้นมาเป็นไฮโดรฟอยล์แล้วเนี่ยอีกอันหนึ่งคือเป็นเทคโนโลยีที่ทำให้เรือมันไม่โค้งเคงเขาบอกความยากที่สุดของเทคโนโลยีคือการยกขึ้นมาแล้วทำยังไงให้มันไม่โค้งเคงเขาใช้อะไรรู้ไหมครับเขาใช้เรื่องของเซ็นเซอร์ใช้เรื่องของ Data เรื่องของคอมพิวเตอร์เข้ามาทำรอบคันเพราะฉะนั้นเนี่ยเวลาเราขึ้นไปเนี่ยเราจะเอาจริงผมยืนอยู่ตรงท่าเรือตรงนี้ผมยังโค้งเคงกว่าเมาเรือมากกว่าข้างบน
Please.
Thank you. Let's get on the boat.
Yeah.
Yeah, ready. โอเคเขาบอกให้เรานั่งนะว่าเราก็ซนนี่ความรู้สึกมันแบบเหมือนขึ้นเครื่องบิน
Redan uppe
ความรู้สึกเหมือนขึ้นเครื่องบิน
Du ser ju liksom när
มีความแบบสปีดอัพ
slutar.
ขึ้นไป Already? So smooth.
Nej, det gör det.
อ๋อ นี่ความเร็วมันเริ่มขึ้นแล้วครับ
Hela tjusningen är ju hur odramatiskt det är. Och den är lite svår
Yeah,
för alla som
yeah, yeah.
väntar att det ska vara liksom en take-off. Det är inte riktigt, det är inte G-krafter som man ser liksom.
so we already fly okay
Nej. Jag förstår vad du menar, det är inte riktigt
Okay.
än. Yeah,
อ่านี่มาดูด้านหลัง
because you know the wake or the swell is actually causing damage to the quay sides.
นี่เห็นไหมมันยกขึ้นมาแล้ว เพราะฉะนั้นมันจะไม่ได้มีปกติเราขึ้นเรือปกติมันจะมีเป็นตีเป็นน้ำขึ้นมาแล้วเป็นใบพัดอะไรอยู่ข้างล่างอะไรแบบนี้เป็นต้นเนาะอันนี้ไม่มีนะครับ มันก็มีแค่เหมือนเราเซิร์ฟอ่ะ
Ja, det är
เอ
kul.
อเหมือนเราเซิร์ฟเฉยๆแล้วก็แบบนะโตขึ้นไป
Och den blir väldigt,
Feeling
den
แบบ
är rätt
โตขึ้น
nim att styra trots att det är en liten färja när du väl är uppe nu. För
Ja.
jag menar, skulle man vilja ta
จ
lite
ริงๆต้องดู
mer
จากข้างนอก
branta...
แต่นี่คือความรู้สึกคือเอาจริงก็รู้สึกแบบปกติ แล้วก็เหมือนนั่งเหมือนนั่ง EV เนาะเออ
Vi har ju mycket den här logiken.
Check
Vad är hans? Now you can
Leo,
feel
na?
the
Leo,
turns,
Leo.
right? So he's playing a little bit. I can tell him to be...
แต่ว่าสิ่งที่เจ๋งกว่านั้นก็คือผมได้สัมภาษณ์เจ้าของเขานะครับกูสตาฟผมเรียกเขาว่า เป็นสตีฟจ็อบส์แห่งวงการเรือนะเพราะว่า innovative ดีไซน์ก็ดี แล้วก็มีจิตวิญญาณแห่งความเป็นผู้ประกอบการมากเลย เอางี้เอาแค่สั้นๆเนี่ยคุณรู้ไหมเขาทำอะไรมาก่อนเขาเป็นวิศวกรอยู่ในบริษัทเคมีคอลธรรมดาแล้วก็เบื่อวันหนึ่งก็ไปเรียกว่าซัมเมอร์เฮาส์นะแล้วก็เห็นเรือแบบเดิมๆที่ใช้มอเตอร์ทำไมมันดูเก่ามันช้าใช้น้ำมันก็เยอะเฮ้ยนั่งสเก็ตลองทำเรือแบบใหม่ดีกว่าที่เป็นไฮโดรฟอยล์แล้วก็ใช้ไฟฟ้าคือแบบวิธีการคิดของเขาคือเมื่อเจอสิ่งที่มันเป็นปัญหาไม่ได้แค่บ่นแต่ว่าลองทำมันขึ้นมาความบ้ามากกว่านั้นคือทำไปเรื่อยๆแล้วรู้สึกว่าทำไมเราไม่ทำเป็นธุรกิจไปเลยว้าว
I had a summer house at the time. We had a motorboat. It was a 7.5 meter, 25-foot day cruiser. And I realized that boat consumed 15 times more fuel per kilometer than the car we had. And then I started to look into what can be done to change that. Can we go for an electric boat? Is that even possible?
Wow.
But with that massive consumption, fuel consumption, it is hard to electrify because batteries don't contain very much energy. So the energy density of gasoline or diesel is just massive, right? So to go battery is difficult. And then I found this very old technology of hydrofoils, which is simply that you have wings underneath the water, just like an airplane, and use the same, it's really the same physics that is in play when you run a hydrofoiling boat as an airplane.
but nobody has done before
Well, yes. So, I mean, the first signs of hydrofoils come from already 1890. So that was a British engineer, he wanted to build an airplane. And then he started to try wing profiles underwater. So he had a horse and a carriage and a river, and then he was pulling stuff to see sort of how could he make the most efficient wing profiles. Because at the time they didn't know how to shape a wing in a good fashion.
I see
And he didn't want to jump into the airplane and try it himself, rather have a safe way to develop the thing. So that was the start. And then there was an Italian guy that did quite a lot of tests in the beginning of the 20th century in Italy, mainly on Lago di Maggiore. And then in 1919, Alexander Graham Bell.
Oh, really?
Yeah, he built a hydrofoiling boat. He did more than 60 knots with it. So he had two Rolls-Royce airplane engines, and the whole thing was in bamboo. And then he just was driving super fast with it. So, yeah.
Alexander Graham Bell who invented the
Yeah.
phone right
Yeah.
he also invented
telegraph.
hydrofoiling
Yeah, so he was into that. And then during the 50s and 60s, the Americans and the Russians built a few hydrofoiling boats. Their main driver was to get a better range so that they could get further with their warships.
okay
And another aspect was the stability that you can get with the hydrofoiling boat. So the Americans, they were using this boat to stabilize the canoe. So when they were shooting, sort of, if they were running in big sea,
Okay.
they were running straight there, and then they could hit the target in a better fashion. So that was another
right.
driver.
to make it more stable
Yeah. And then they wanted to
Targeted.
go faster as well. I think that was a key driver for them. But that kind of since the fuel cost was not really a topic during the time, which is really a key thing with Hydrofoil, you reduce the energy consumption massively. So we reduced the drag roughly 75%, which means that the cost for energy is reduced by roughly 90%.
Wow. So you did a lot of research just for fun
Yeah,
in the beginning.
exactly, yeah. And then
Because you don't know the market feasibility or...
No, exactly. But I didn't have any, I didn't have any money to start a company, so I need to get some funding for it. And that was really the first very hard part to find an investor that was willing to go into that.
Right.
Because the leisure boat market, I wanted to do a leisure boat initially. The leisure boat market is not what investors want to go into.
Yeah.
So it was tough to find
may I
investors
ask
for
first that what was the first time that you think, hey, I should do this as a business?
Yeah, so that was in 2014. I had left my company before, so I didn't have any job, so I needed to figure out what to do.
Okay.
And then we had the summer house. I started to build some prototypes, some models with my sons,
Cool.
in the garage. But then the autumn came, they went back to school, and Dad had to find a job, right? So that was kind of, I had to become either serious about this topic, not just playing around, or find the proper job, to feed the family.
So you were at the crossroad?
Yeah.
And then you chose...
Yeah, and I gave myself 6 months. I mean, tried to find funding for this during 6 months, and either I make it or not. And if not, I have to find the proper job and a normal job.
But before you have to find the funding, you have to make sure that your product is, feasible and the technology works, right?
Well, yeah, no, and I didn't do that. I was assuming that it should work. Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
So brave.
Well, yeah, or the investor was brave, I don't know. Well, so I started to look for traditional funding for venture capital companies in Europe. I contacted more than 90 venture capital companies. I got 2 meetings. I got no in both meetings. So that didn't work. They were not interested. I think because it was the leisure boat market. Also because typically venture capital companies look for software companies. At least at the time, that was really the focus.
Yes.
This was very much hardware. And it was not sort of a little tiny piece of hardware. It was a big thing with a lot of different systems. So everybody saw this is complicated.
Yeah.
So which will mean a lot of capital is needed before you get it to market. So that made it pretty hard. But then eventually I found so I decided then to focus a bit more on the vision of the thing. So I hired a designer to create sort of a the first renderings of the boat. And
that means you used your own money.
Yes, the tiny money I had. Yeah, exactly.
It's risky. Right?
Yes, but you have to risk too, because they can never tell whether this makes sense or not. It's impossible.
It's possible, and it sounds crazy at first.
Exactly. So you need to find somebody that just trusts you and think, well, this is a crazy idea. I love it, and you seem to be a good person to do this.
Okay.
I think that's really the core here.
Wow.
Rather than having, as you can't have 1,000 details in the beginning because everything would be made up anyway, and everybody knows that. So there is no point in getting too precise on, the specific numbers of how big is the market, how much can you sell it for, what will it cost, and so on, because you don't know. So, and it's you need to find somebody that can just waste some money, because the likelihood that you succeed is low, and accept that. Yeah.
How much did you got?
Well, the initial funding was small. It was in dollars. It was $500,000. And then I was able to hire 3 engineers. So we started off with a very small team, we had like a garage with no proper heating and so on.
So your initial plan is to hire more engineers to work with you?
Yeah, because I didn't know much, right? And we wanted to build this in carbon fiber. I've never done anything in carbon fiber. We wanted to do a control system. That was probably the only part that I had some knowledge on how to design a control system, but we needed somebody in that area. And then you have the whole electric drivetrain. We needed people for that, obviously, to make that whole thing work. So Yeah, but the challenge at the time was, of course, that we wanted to build such a complex product with all these different technology systems with a very small team. And then you get into technology areas in which you have no idea really what you're doing. And you're just trying your best and use sort of common sense to try to figure out, how should we do this? And then you make a lot of mistakes and then you need to go back and just redo it. Comparison now is, of course, when we developed the ferry, where we were able to get stronger funding and then do something more, proper and serious from the beginning with people that really knows.
Yeah.
They know electric motors, or they know how to build a PCBA, or all the different things that we're doing.
How was the feeling? I mean, and how long did it take for the first prototype? It is like.
The Wright brothers?
Yeah. Is it quite the same, or is Thomas Alva Edison who, failed 1,000 or 10,000 times, and he just found only one most optimal, something like that.
It was probably something in between the both. So the first boat we put in water, and that was in 2017.
So you started
2015 we got going.
Okay, so about 2 years.
Yeah, but that boat it didn't fly. First of all, it was leaking water, so we had to focus on that and not having it sink. And then it took us half a year before it started to fly. So we had to redo a lot of things.
And what was the feeling at that time? I mean, the party.
Well, from a technology perspective, we learned awful lot of things. There were so many things that we had to just learn because we got it wrong from the beginning. But then from a more mental perspective, I think the learning was that you get like 10 problems every day, and you just solve them, and then you get 10 new problems to solve, and you just go through that every day, and finally you're gonna make it. So, and at the end you get this feeling that, okay, here I have some new problems. I have solved all the other problems before. What's so damn unique with this problem, right? So you lower your feeling of getting afraid of all the problems that you encounter.
They call me crazy cause I'm facing all my giants. They try to scare me into thinking I can fight it.
So, but eventually we got it flying, and then in 18 we decided to start serial production. So we started to ship the first boat in 2019.
Okay.
Which was then a 7.5 meter leisure boat. Yeah, it was a beautiful piece of engineering. But
tell me more about the technology and what made it work after failures.
Yeah. So in essence, the boat is very much like an airplane. That you have a big wing in the front and a smaller wing in the back. So like a traffic airplane. The key challenge here is that when you push it up to the water, you have the center of gravity.
Okay.
It's above the surface of the water, and the lifting point is below the water, which means it's like balancing if you have a palm or a stick in your palm to balance it.
Yeah.
It's the same challenge here. It doesn't want to stay up there, so that means you need sensors and computers to stabilize the whole thing.
Oh wow.
Yeah. So we do that, and then we use gyroscopes, accelerometers, and then we have height sensors that we have developed using radar technology. And
so the hardest thing is not only lifting the boat, but try to
keep it up there, which is very difficult. Yeah. So I would say initially, it was more the hydrodynamics where we had big problems. How do you design hydrofoils? Because that hadn't been done for very many years. Now a lot of people use hydrofoils. You have this flying dinghies and also
surfboard.
Surfboards, exactly. So it has become more popular. But when I started, so the research papers we could find, those were from 1950 or 1960.
Wow.
And they were done with typewriter, and all the diagrams, they were copied 5 times, so you couldn't read what they were trying to say, right? So it was not like asking ChatGPT how to build a hydrofoiling boat. This was, feels like 300 years ago, but it was a very different story.
It's like learning by doing.
Yeah, very much so, and there were limited amount of knowledge that you could just tap into. So that made it a bit, were very challenging, I would say. But so when you lift it up in the water, then you have to control it. As said, you want to fall to the side. You also have, you're going to try it, but the boat is leaning inside in the turns. Mm-hmm. That is all sort of calculated what it should do. I mean, you want to lean outside if you don't control it. So we have to calculate that in the computers to make that work.
So all different technologies and disciplines come together.
Exactly. Yeah.
Wow.
And then the other key aspect here is that if you want to make this boat efficient, you want to reduce the mass of it as much as possible. So we use carbon fibers and carbon composites to make that work. And that is, it's a delicate engineering topic to optimize the weight as much as you can. So those boats are super light. And you also need to be very diligent in the production process so that you do exactly as you had designed. Otherwise, you're going to add more weight than you wanted to have and so on to it. The foiling aspect and getting the hydrodynamics right there is a key challenge. And then the whole control system with its electronics and software and sensors and actuators is a key thing. So we control the control loop is running 100 times per second. So we change the position of the wings 100 times per second. So it's a constant movement there. It needs to be very fast. And then you have the lightweight design.
Wow.
And then on top of that, of course, the electrical drivetrain that has not, there were at the time very few electrical boats around. So we had to find solutions, find batteries and motors that we could use to make something sensible.
How did you make it happen? I mean, from knowledge, research to innovation.
Yeah.
It's really difficult.
The being afraid of not doing good is a human condition in a way, right? And if you're a high achiever and you want to be a high achiever, that fear can be a strong limiting factor for your creativity.
Yes.
So if your dominant feeling is that you don't want to fail, you will never do something really good, right?
Yes.
You need to take that away. So therefore, for such an engineering culture to work, you need to work with trust, as you mentioned, and which is kind of the opposite of fear. Mm-hmm. And if you can create such a sort of a some kind of emotional safe space, if you like.
So what's next?
What's next? Now we're going to bring this out to the world, and I think the focus for the company now is very much to stay focused.
And stay foolish.
Yeah, exactly. No, but I mean it's because we are bringing a new category of transport really to the market. It's important that category really works in a good way. Mm-hmm. So we are working hard to. I mean, we spend most of the engineering hours now not on improving the performance of the product, but rather make sure it's robust and it works day in and day out. We don't have quality issues and so on. So that is really a key thing now, to become a very solid and robust product. So, and then we need to meet the demand. We have sold close to 50 ferries now.
Wow.
Across the world. We are at the moment at the pace of 12 boats per year in production.
Wow.
So we need to ramp that up fast, as we are doing,
okay.
and set up further plants around the world. So that will keep us busy. So the strategy now is not very fancy. It's very much do what you do it well, and that's what we're trying to do right now.
If you have to summarize your story, your learning, your success for the young generation of leaders, innovators, or entrepreneurs who want to pioneer things, not only business as usual, right? What would it be from the experience?
Well, I think in the initial stages, it's to hang in there because. The first half a year or year, nobody believed in this crazy idea, and then to send those emails and make those phone calls and continue to try to do the thing you want to do. I think that is important. That you don't give up too early, and then accept that it's going to be hard. You're going to make thousands of mistakes and just continue to hang in there. I think that's the key thing. And then not try to get overwhelmed by all the problems and realize that, at the end of the day, you're alive and that's important, and to have maybe a family, and that's important. And
Does the family or your friends play the key role?
not really, more than allowing me to do this, which is an important thing.
I forgot to ask Gustav. Just want to know the entrepreneurial spirit in Sweden.
Yeah.
I mean, it is correlate with the welfare. I mean that you have social safety net, that you can be creative and be more, braver and.
I think that has a role, but I think it's also very much linked to the fact that we have completely free education in Sweden. There are many factors, right? We were one of the countries that had, high-speed internet connected to most households early on. That's probably partly why you see so many, high-tech, also software companies coming out of Sweden. We are big in AI. So there is a very, very proud entrepreneurial tradition in Sweden with old companies as well.
Do you think is it by coincidence or by design, or it embedded in your heart or your mind?
I think we are a proud engineering nation.
Really?
Yes.
You think like that?
Yes. I think it comes from that, and people have been encouraged to solve problems. And I think also what we are doing with Candela is that we're solving a big problem where, waterborne public transport has been enormously inefficient, both from a cost and from an environmental point of view. But also, as we know, water is the oldest means of transport for people, and now we want to reclaim that. We want to make it possible again, and that's what we are really excited about. It's an exciting city. There's lots going on. I think it's a place for the future.
Yeah,
we just
agree.
need some flying electric boats.
Yes, totally agree.